Hello, I'd like to share with you what I've done today. I've spent most of the day drawing a design for a saddle, for the rear housing, and for the skirts. And what I've done is a pencil drawing here. It laid out the design I wanted, which happens to be red oak and acorns. And I'll give you a close-up view of that in a minute. But I'll describe also what I've done. I did my pencil sketch and laid it out like I wanted it. Then I had my cased leather, and I used an awl and set the paper pattern and used tacks to hold it in place. And then I traced the design, and then I came back and cut the design in with my swivel knife. And then I allowed this piece to dry out. After it dried out, I've got the other side of the rear housing that was somewhat wetter. It had been cased, it was just perfect. And what I did is I laid that over there like that, and then I took two saddle awls and positioned my rear housing on top of the other one there, and then I did what you call a tap off. I took a flat nose hammer and then I just tapped this side that I cut the design in, and then that transferred the design over onto the other side, and then I came back and cut that design in. So I've got a pretty matched set of rear housings here, and that's how you make a right and a left to something. That's something I wanted to share with you. Here's an Oak Leaf and Acorn pattern that I drew today for my saddle skirt on this custom saddle. And what I did, I drew the pattern the way I wanted it to fit the area that I needed to cover. And then in the front, I just drew a couple oak leaves here with a little scroll here. I didn't even make a pattern for it. But back here at the back, I made this pattern, and then I used a old awl that's kind of polished on the end there, and it doesn't cut the paper. But I put some saddle tacks right there and right there to hold the pattern in place while I trace the design onto the cased leather. Okay, after the leather was cased and it was just right for tooling in, cutting in, I took my swivel knife and cut this design in. Then I was real careful to cut a straight border right where I want it. And I've got some C.S. Osborne's compass right here that I used to scratch my border on there to make sure they're very straight. So I cut this design in just like that, and then I allowed this piece to dry out. Now I've got the offside skirt that I need to transfer the pattern to. The reason I want to transfer the pattern and make it as close to this one is it'll look a lot better. Yes, you could, if you wanted to, go through the process and just trace the pattern over there, but it seems to work out better if you'll tap it off onto the piece of leather. So what I do is set this on my stamping rock here and make sure that I've got that even. And also I can come in here, like raise that up and just put a little scratch mark right there where the design is, so I can tap that over onto the wet leather. And a lot of times I'll use like a sewing awl once I get that set where I want it, and then I'll just press that in there so the leather piece will not bounce around. And up there, that won't hurt anything to put that right there like that. And then I've got a flat nose kind of a hammer here that I like to transfer that. So what I do is just make sure it's lined up and just start tapping this like this. And you can raise this up and peek under there and just make sure you've got all your design transferred. And I'll give you a close-up look of what it looks like once it's been tapped off. Now I've got to do the back. I need to slide it back just a little bit to the drier leather sometimes shrinks a little bit, and this bottom one just a little bit longer, but they should even up once they both dry out. Now I'm continuing to do my tap off here to transfer this pattern onto this other skirt. This can come in handy for all kinds of things that you actually you could make a tap off pattern, like if you made guitar straps or belts or purses or something. You could have a dedicated leather pattern just to do your tap off designs. See, I've got my awls there that are holding that in place. And if I lift this up and I see I've missed a place, I can use those as locators to reposition my skirt and continue tapping it off. And also I'll come back with my dividers here and redraw my border and not use the one I'm tapping off. I just want to make sure it's real true. So that should give you an idea how to do a tap off. And I'll show you a close-up of what it looks like after it's been tapped off. And there's the area that I tapped off right there. You can faintly see that design. And, well, you can see it good enough that you can follow the line there and cut the design in. Here's a look at the design after it's been cut in. The red oak leaves and the acorns, and then the border right there. So now it's time to bevel around everything on this piece, do the background work, and then do the cut marks, decorative cut marks on the acorns, oak leaves, and then the stems and the vine part. And that's the front part of the saddle skirts.